What's up, everyone? A lot of people have been asking me on Twitch and Twitter and places like that what I think about the upcoming Marvel game Midnight Suns. So I thought it was finally time to sit down, take a little time, and talk about what I think about this new game. If you're looking for even more content from me than you can possibly find on this YouTube channel right now, make sure you check the description below for links to my Twitch and my Twitter. That's where I post and stream a lot of stuff, so make sure you click on those and come say hi. And while you're down there, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Those things really do help. Okay, so the first thing about Midnight Suns is that it's a Marvel game. And if you know me, if you've seen any of my content, you should probably understand by now that Marvel games, I'm in for. I am there for a Marvel game. So right away, if it's a game about characters in a franchise that I love, of course I'm going to be interested. But that obviously can't be all of it, right? It's not like I'm going to dedicate a ton of time to something that I don't really find fun just because it's about characters I like. So what about the gameplay? So far, we've only seen a very little bit of the gameplay, but from what I've seen, it doesn't look like Midnight Suns looks like really anything else I've ever played before. Of course, there's XCOM comparisons because of Firaxis making the game, but that isn't all of it, because there's also the cards. I heard from some of my friends and viewers that the card aspect wasn't what they expected or even really what they wanted. But let me tell you why I'm still excited about the game. I'm excited because Slay the Spire is good. I'm excited because Gwent, the card game from Witcher 3, is good. Card games can still be fun. Card games can still be exciting. And even if cards introduce some aspect of randomness, there can still be strategy in card games and deck building games. I think by now it's fair to say that people trust Firaxis to make a good strategy game. We could at least give them the benefit of the doubt to see the game and play the game before we make the decision that cards aren't right for the game. Dismissing things because they're not what we've seen before and because they're not what we expected just isn't the way forward. We need to be able to give opportunities to things that are new and things that are interesting and things that could be exciting, but also could be a little bit scary. What level of randomness are the card aspects going to add to the gameplay? And I honestly think it's a little bit too early to tell that. All we have right now is their assurances that even with the playing cards, heroes are still going to feel and play like those heroes, and we're going to get the opportunity to use all of their exciting abilities.
Every character has their own abilities that the player is in charge of. So they can assign whatever abilities they want to Blade, to Doctor Strange, to the Hunter. They bring all those abilities into combat, and there aren't that many of them, so you're going to see all those abilities come up.
We could get more in-depth on the card system and what that means for gameplay, but so far I don't think I could say any of that any better than the developers have in their videos. All I know is the animations and the actions they've shown us so far of the abilities look fun. They look like Marvel to me. And just because the gameplay is based around a card-based system, I don't think that's a reason to count the game out. I think that there is a way to make a card-based game and a strategy game feel exciting, and I'm really hopeful that this game has that. Now, another thing to talk about, the Hunter. We get to make our own character in a Marvel game, and through this character, we get to tell some of Marvel's biggest heroes how they should fight and what they should do. An interesting note along those lines. When Guardians of the Galaxy, the game that's going to be released in October, was first announced, people were surprised that the only playable character was Star-Lord, and the rest of the Guardians were commandable via action commands during combat. Honestly, I don't know if enough people are talking about in the game, the Guardians can actually refuse your commands if they want to, based on dialogue and interaction that you've had with them previously in the game. I don't think Midnight Suns will be exactly like that. I mean, for one, in combat in a strategy game, does it really actually matter that you're playing as the Hunter in that moment? Telling Wolverine what to do via action commands versus playing as Wolverine is kind of the same thing in that moment. For another, I don't think the characters in Midnight Suns are going to be able to refuse your commands, at least as far as we've seen. It'd certainly be an interesting mechanic in a strategy game if the computer can just simply decide not to pay attention to you. But I do think it's interesting that we have a few Marvel games coming out in the next 6 months that are going to be focused around playing as one character versus focused around playing as a myriad of characters. I'm hoping that for both Midnight Suns and Guardians of the Galaxy, this focus on playing as one specific character is going to make the gameplay feel tight and refined. Even though I think some people said, oh, Guardians isn't exciting to me because we don't get to play as every one of the Guardians. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think that it's just a different scope of game. We have Marvel's Avengers, where you can already play as 9 different heroes who all play differently and uniquely. I think having games like these games and Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine coming, where you only play as one hero, is a good thing. It's a different focus, and I think that's okay. Another thing we know about Midnight Suns is that there's going to be RPG elements between the Hunter and the rest of the Midnight Suns.
This is really a social experience where after combat, all these heroes are hanging out, and you can choose from different heroes after combat to hang out with. And this is an important part of building a relationship.
It is. It's one of my favorite parts of the game. Not only do you have fun in combat, you come back, and you have a very, very important choice to make, which is a whole other part of the Marvel fantasy, right? It's not just battling amongst these heroes, it's who do you want to hang out with, Nico Morono or Iron Man.
There are going to be choices of things you can say and how you can interact with other team members, and hopefully those choices are going to have real implications on the game and the outcomes of fights. If they do, then that's replayability right there. Plus, according to developers, the game should be long. In the most recent gameplay video we've seen, they said that you don't even get to meet Wolverine until 10 hours into the game. If that's the case, how much of the game is left after you meet Wolverine?
Here we're introducing Wolverine for the first time. This is where you meet him. This is pretty far into the game, probably. I mean, actually this game's very long, so not that far, but this is a good 10, 12 hours into the game. When you meet Wolverine and you unlock him.
There are a lot of questions we don't have the answer to yet, and I think that's okay. The game is still months away, and I think in those months we're going to see a lot more things that are going to answer those questions and also get us more excited about playing this game. So let's see so far. It's a long game with a customizable character in a universe I love with gameplay elements that might be unfamiliar to me. So how do I rank my excitement? Honestly, I'm really excited. I've always been the type of gamer who would say, I don't really think strategy games are for me. I own a lot of them, they're in my Steam library, but I haven't really played them because I've been more focused on action-oriented games. But if Firaxis is going to give me a game with characters that I love, even if it's in a genre I don't really know a whole lot about, it's going to get my attention. Like I said towards the beginning, I've played some other games like this. Slay the Spire, Gwent, Hearthstone, and even some real-life deck-building games. Will I be good at Midnight Suns right away? Honestly, probably not. But hey, I have a lot of years of experience of not being good at something right away. Or honestly, ever. It's okay to be worried that the card aspect or the strategy aspect isn't for you. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not for me. But the important thing to remember is we get to choose how we react to something. Deciding that a game we've never played is somehow bad just because it's different than what we expected isn't only unfair to the developers who are making the game. It's unfair to ourselves. That's the kind of attitude that leads to you missing out on some of the best and most surprising things in life. So even though I don't know if strategy games are right for me, and even if I think I'm probably going to make a lot of mistakes along the way, here's where I land on Midnight Suns. I'm excited, I can't wait to play it, and I plan to give it every possible chance to be one of my new favorite games. Thanks for watching.